Hey, what's up, guys? So throughout the year I got contacted by a fellow by the name of Tristan K'Nell to come onto his podcast, and I said I would come on in the off season. So he's actually got a really good podcast. It's up there in one of the top sports podcasts in Australia. So we'll come out here today and have a bit of a chat. His podcast is called Talking with TK. Let's go. Tristan.
Hello, guys.
So Tristan started a podcast. When did you start your podcast?
Well, this podcast here started last year.
Yep.
I've been podcasting for about 3 years. The first one was the Vision Board podcast. This one here is Talking with TK. So Talking with TK, I'm interviewing pretty much the best from Australia and New Zealand, just telling their stories and bringing it out to the world.
Who have you had on the show before?
Well, last week, like for me, because I've grown up loving rugby league, so I get a lot of the league players on. So
got this over here.
I am a Shark supporter. Through so ET, obviously, that's one of my best interviews.
Oh, nice! Yeah,
the big man. He gave me some time, so that was good.
Oh,
the chief Paul Harrigan's come on.
Yeah.
This one here, last week I had Jamie Lyon on.
Oh, lovely.
And that episode just went absolutely nuts. So I think some of the Manly fans just really wanted to hear from Killer. So a lot of them over the time, but I've interviewed some great people, guys like George Foreman, Layla Ali.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Robert Whittaker, all the UFC guys, and so it's been a great journey. But
lovely.
I really like exploring and even bringing on some of the legendary Sharkies.
So where can everyone listen to the podcast?
Well, you can go online, www.talkingwithtk.com, or if you've got your podcast app, just search Talking with TK. Sweet. And you'll find it definitely in there.
All right, sweet. Let's get stuck into it.
Alright guys, my special guest today is Chad Townsend. Chad is a professional rugby league player for the Cronulla Sharks. He's played over 130 games now, winning a premiership in 2016, and he's also recently had a few representative honours. He's played for City twice in 16 and 17, and also recently was selected to the the President's 13 for their tour of PNG. Welcome to the podcast, Chad Townsend.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure, Chad. So, like I said, when we've been chatting before you came on the show, I really like your vlog, because it's innovative, and I don't see any of the other players doing it at all, and it's giving everyone a great insight into your life. Yeah,
I think it's something that now more than ever, I think obviously everything's online, and it's a great way, I think, for myself to put out there some content that I think would benefit myself in a positive way, and also just to see what, to give people an insight into the type of person that I am away from footy. I'm a family man. I love hanging out with my wife and my daughter, and also it's a way for us to create memories and keep it on file. As much as
for sure.
Like my daughter's nearly 8 months old, and we got all these videos of her, when she was born, bringing her home from the hospital, taking her down the beach, and when she gets older, I'll just be able to say to her, darling, if you want to get, I've got all these videos here, you can go and have a look at them when you're a young girl. But like I said, it's a great way for me to put out some content that I can control, and I'm really loving it as well. I love following other vloggers and learning along the way. So I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, you just brought up your daughter. Now it is evident how much you love family time. So tell me a little bit about fatherhood and kind of how that, I'm sure it's balancing you now off the field.
Yeah, big time. It has changed my life. My wife and I had always spoken about being parents, and we'd love to have a big family one day. But at the moment, we're blessed with just one little girl, and she really has changed my life around just the perspective. And you come home from training or a game after you've had a loss, and you might not have played that well, and I just see her and she's smiling, and just things, just nothing else matters. It's just really does put things in perspective that there are other things out there than rugby league, and this little girl, she's got my heart captured. It's truly an amazing thing to be a father.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned your wife as well. Now, that's Scotty Sorensen's sister, correct?
Yes, it's correct. Scotty's my brother-in-law. So
how'd you meet?
It's a good question. So I actually Scott's actually got two older brothers, and one of those older brothers I played with in the under-20s. His name was Blake Sorensen, and then Scotty was a few years younger than us. And I obviously knew Scott from just playing in the juniors. I knew he was a few years younger than me, and his sister would always come to the games and was a big fan of the boys and has been a big influence on their lives. And we sort of met through that, and then I messaged her, made contact with her, and
so you DM'd her.
Yeah, and then we went on a date, or if that's what you call it, and it took off from there. And then I remember the time that my wife told Scott that she'd been seeing me, and he was a little bit dirty at the time, but then Scott and myself we were mates, and I was in it for the right reasons. I was in it for the long term, and Scott and myself are now we're really good mates. We hang out away from footy, and also it's really cool to be able to train alongside your brother-in-law and to see him grow, and especially the season he had this year, where he played about 15 games. It was really a breakout season for him, and notably that try he scored against the Panthers at home when he made about a 50-metre break off of Matt Moylan short ball. It was, that's the kind of stuff that he's capable of, and I'm hoping he has another big season next year for us.
Yeah, is it pretty cool because you play on the right edge? Sometimes when Louis was out, he was filling in for Louis, sometimes on the right edge, sometimes on the left. But when he was on the right, that would have been pretty cool to see your brother-in-law right next to you.
Yeah, it was cool. It was, we had a fair few injuries in our back row this year, and obviously Wade had a bit of an unfortunate season, and Louis was out at times, and that really promoted guys like Scotty and even Kurt Capewell as well to come up and fill that void. And Scott was playing on the left and then playing on the right, and then there'd be times in the game where, I'd be talking to Scotty in defence, and he'd be covering my backside if I missed a tackle, or they're trying to send the big back rower at me and he'd be covering me. And at the end of the game, I remember we won a home game, and I just went over to him and I said, how cool is that? Like, it's just, you got to really just take in those moments, because you never know when they could happen again, or you just want to, I guess, make the most of it.
Now, Chad, take me back a little bit to the start, because you're a Yarrawarra boy. Now, were your parents always from the Shire?
Yeah, so I grew up in Yarrawarra. I was born in Sutherland Hospital at Caringbah, and I pretty much started playing rugby league when I was 5 years old. Okay. And I fell in love with the game. And, we would go up the oval and set up the field, play footy before our game, play our game, and then play footy until it got dark. And then when it got dark, we'd turn the lights on and keep playing. So, we grew up in a community that loved rugby league, that loved hanging out with one another. And, after the games, all our families would hang out together. We'd have dinner, and parents have a few drinks, and we'd still be just running around under the lights playing footy. So, that's where I fell in love with the game, the great Yarrawarra Tigers, with my junior team. So, we had some very good times there.
But you guys won 7 in a row, am I making that right?
Wasn't in a row, but we did win 7 competitions, yeah.
But it must have been pretty close, seeing that by the time you went to Harold Matts, would have been over, 10 years or something?
It was, it was a very enjoyable time, and some of those guys I play with, I got married last year, and all of my groomsmen I met playing footy when I was 5 years old. Wow. So, that I think can put into perspective about what it meant. And like I said, I owe that club everything, the friendships, the life it's given me, how I started my career. And, it was lucky enough that we were successful. We had a pretty good team with some good players. But more importantly, we were just good mates, and that's what it was all about.
Yeah, I've got another Yarrawarra boy, Keithy Galloway, on tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He's going to drop by tomorrow.
Keithy Yarrawarra old boy. We had a bit of a function during the year for the Yarra Tigers reunion. I caught up with Keithy there. So, definitely another old boy.
For sure. Who else came through the ranks from your team?
My team was Stuart Mills. He played about 20 NRL games.
Yeah, I thought he actually did, because I was going to ask you, because I remember his debut.
Yeah.
His debut was one of the greatest debuts I've ever seen.
Yeah, so he was, hands down one of the most talented rugby league players I'd ever played with, and someone who, when he got the ball when we were younger, would just without a doubt, he'd make a break. Yeah. And I used to try and push up on the other side of the field so I could try and get a try off him. But he had an unreal debut, and then unfortunately came into a few serious injuries in one tackle in an NRL trial when he was 18 years old. He done his knee and his ankle at the same time, and then done his other knee. So he ended up having about 3 knee reconstructions, and ended up giving it away in the end. So, but we're still great mates.
That's good. What's he up to?
He's working at the Wharfs now. He was captain coach out at Ningen Tigers for a year out there. Took the boys all the way to the grand final. They'd never been to a grand final, but yeah, now he's just working at the wharfs, and we're still great mates. So.
Yeah, good stuff. So obviously now you're progressing through the grades. You actually went and tried out for the Harold Matts a year early.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
What made you kind of want to do that?
To be honest, I wasn't sure. Like, I think up at that stage, I think I was still 14, and I was turning 15 the next year, and I thought, I'm just going to give it a go. I obviously wanted to, test myself and make rugby league. Make it in rugby league. And anyway, I went and trialled, and I made the train on squad. I think it might have been like 30 whatever players, and anyway, then when they were making the final cuts, it was pretty nerve-wracking, and I knew that I had another year to go in Matthews Cup. But as a young kid, you put so much pressure on yourself, and I got a phone call from the assistant coach at the time. His name was Kev Farquhar, and he rang me and he just said, "Mate, the way you trained, the way you applied yourself, we couldn't not pick you. We got told at the start to not pick any young kids, but we just couldn't not pick you." And that was the moment where I was like, wow, this has spurred me on to really give it a go and make the most of my chance. And from there, it just took off.
Yeah, you spoke before about playing till midnight. Were you always that kid that always put in the extras, always working on his kicking game?
Yeah, definitely. I think, before training, I was always up the Oval. I mean, I lived 5 doors down from the Oval that I grew up from, so I lived 5 doors down. One of my mates lived 3 doors down. Another one would have been 10 doors. And then, we were all surrounding the Oval as we grew up. So we were all up the Oval, kicking and practicing, playing games. I goal kicked fairly regularly when I was a kid, and I would always go up there every day before training and practice. And I loved it. I still love it now, and it's made my life what it is.
Yeah. Now, Chad, the reason why I wanted to get you on today is because through your whole life and your career, you've always faced a lot of adversity and always came in from the other side, just glowing. Now, when you were younger, when you were 15, your parents split up.
Yep.
Now you're just coming into Harold Matthews as well. That's already a lot to handle. That's a major piece of adversity straight up off the bat. How did you kind of react when all that was going on?
Yeah, definitely. I think, through my whole life, I've never been given anything. I've had to earn and work for everything, and I think that's a trait that I am the most proud of, to be as a rugby league player. But, yeah, I think when I was, around 15, my parents did divorce, and at the time it was pretty tough. It was, I was a kid who, didn't really know what was happening, the ins and outs, the details of everything, and to be around some of the arguments and things like that at the time was definitely difficult for myself and my brother, and I think it hit my brother a lot harder than anyone else. He's
a bit older than you, is he?
He's younger than me, 1 year younger than me, and it was a difficult time, and it really did test us. And I think as kids and even as boys, as you grow older, you bottle a lot of it up and you don't talk about it. And I think it took a long time for me to realise that it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah.
And the day I met my wife, I think she got the best out of me in terms of talking about your emotions and things like that. But for any kid, when your parents break up, it is a tough thing to go through. So, it was definitely a challenge for me. But, I think to have rugby league as a point where it would just take everything else away, and that was why I just honed in on my rugby league, on my footy, where, while I was playing footy or while I was training, nothing else mattered. It was just, this is it right now. So there was definitely a test, though.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, Chad.
That's okay.
All right, now coming through the junior reps, now with SG Ball and Harold Matts, you're also making a few of I think you made the under-18s for New South Wales, correct?
Yep.
And also the CHS team as well. So you're going pretty well. You're going through the rep teams and you're actually developing quite well. How did you feel like during that period? Did you think that you could take that next step into kind of becoming a pro?
Yeah, I think, when I made the New South Wales under-18s team, I played with a handful of really good players, and I think at that stage you really have your sights set on making it into the NRL, and I think there was still obviously a fair few years to go in terms of development and things like that, and obviously anything can happen, but when I played the 18s, and then after actually the thing that spurred me on the most was probably after I played SG Ball. had a really good year when I was 18. I made that CHS team, the New South Wales team. I played SG Ball, and after SG Ball season finished, we made the semis. We just missed out on the grand final. I went up to the 20s, and then I played every game in the 20s until the last 4 games, and then I played Premier League, the last 4 games and semi-finals of Premier League as an 18-year-old.
So you're playing against men.
Yeah.
That'd be tough work.
I was nervous. I was scared. I was scared my first game, but, we ended up winning the game, and we made the semis, and we lost week 1 of the semis, but that was the moment where I was like, I'm going for it now. Next year I did an NRL pre-season, and then the year after that I made my debut, and it all went up from there.
Yeah, back then the first grade boys, out of that group, did anyone leave a big impression on you?
Yeah, look, when I was probably the biggest, I think when I was 18 was I was playing Premier League at the time with a fella named Tony Kane.
Okay.
And he had played at the Sharks and at the Dragons, and then suffered a really bad knee injury from Steve Price charge down. And I remember seeing him trying to make this comeback where his knee was just bent in the wrong way. And I was down one afternoon, and I saw him before training just passing at a goalpost, just practicing left and right passing just by himself. And I was like, that's left an impression on me.
Yeah.
No one's around. I saw him. No one else saw him. And, he's not doing this to please anyone or anything. He's trying to do this to get better. And that was just like, that's the stuff you need to do to make it to the NRL. And it really did spur me on to continue to do that work.
Just those little extras.
Definitely.
Now, Chatty, think about now, when you made your debut in 2011, right? The Sharks were not cellar dwellers, but we had no money. Our gym was run down. We weren't the laughing stock of the league, but we were at the bottom. Can you, when you reflect on it now, you coming back, winning a premiership, we've been in the semis all the way through except for one season since then. And now with the development and everything happening around the club, now we're the envy of a lot of people in the NRL. Can you, back then, did you think it was ever going to happen like that?
It's tough. I think, looking at it from where we are now to in 2011... and before I left to go to the Warriors, it's a totally different place. Facilities, resources, coaching staff. It's the whole thing got flipped on its head. And, I only wish now that if I came into first grade now when we had all that stuff, it might have been a bit better, but who knows, And I think, 2011, 12 and 13, when I was in and out of NRL and suffered a few injuries and a bit of time in reserve grade, and then I went over to the Warriors, and just to see what the Warriors have in terms of facilities, sponsorship, resources, and they've obviously one team in one country, and to the players that come up through those systems, and they see that they've got absolutely everything in terms of even training gear. We'd struggle to get some training gear at the Sharks, and the Warriors, you just get handed 2 full bags of kit, more kit than you'd ever need.
Yeah.
And the boys over there kind of take it for granted because they get it every year. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. Look at this gym. I'm training in a massive gym. And then, but then when I did come back from the Warriors, it was, it obviously changed a lot. And, from then to now, it is completely different.
Yeah. Now tell me about Flano. Tell me about the first time you met Flano. What was he like?
I couldn't tell you the first time I met him. It would have been, maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was playing 20s at the time, and I just always remember Flano was pretty... he doesn't give too much away, Flano, in terms of, I guess, feedback or, things like that at stages when I was younger anyway. And then once I did make it into NRL, our relationship started to build. But I think it wasn't until I came back after my stint at the Warriors where our relationship really took off in terms of football and talking and analysing. And obviously I want to be hands-on in the game plan and have my input and things like that. And that's where I think we were able to create some game plans or even some set plays, which...
You're a real student, aren't you?
Yeah, I do. And I love it when, we'll sit down during the week, and we call these meetings a spine meeting where, it's Val, Moisa, myself, Brayley and Chico
Yeah.
and our coaching staff. We watch footage and we discuss tactics that we think can beat the opposition, or plays that we think we can beat the opposition. And then we might say, like John Morris is sitting in there too, he's our assistant coach, and we might say, look, we want to get to this spot of the field to run this play, this special play against this opposition, because they defend like this, and if we get here, this player will do this. And
this is great. Have you ever watched, I think you're into American sports, have you watched those Hard Knocks and
yeah,
all those
yeah,
shows?
I love Hard Knocks. Yeah,
and they're in
I
the
love
room
it.
together, the quarterback meeting. And
that's
got
exactly what it's like.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got it from there, to be honest. Like I love my NFL, and then what I'm saying is, when we discuss that stuff, and then when we get on the field and we do it, and it comes off and it pays off and we score a try, it is the best feeling. It's like me and John Morris will look at each other and we'll go, I told you so, I told you so. And then we just laugh and like have a bit of a smile and a bit of a high five. So yeah, that's definitely one of the greatest things.
That's awesome.
All right, there it is, guys. Talking with TK done. Thanks for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, Chad.
So we'll see you guys soon. Peace.
See you guys.
Podcast done. Make sure you check out Apple Podcasts for the full podcast.